Hello and welcome to the Gerry Leeds United Show. This is the first episode of the show, and I've got three guests on here. Three big Leeds fans. So hopefully we'll get some good discussion from the lads. We've Ginny, we've Kevin there from the Leeds United Mad, and we've got JK. So we're going to start off then anyway. It's not necessarily the best place that we probably don't want to start, but it has to be done. We have to address Brighton and obviously the disappointment of losing that game. So, Jenny, starting off with you, would you say that was one of our worst performances so far this season?
Definitely. I think it was the worst, just slightly edged over West Ham, which I thought was a poor game. Look, I said before, I was quietly confident we could get the 3 points, but it wasn't to be. When I look back on it, we were flat. We never really got going. We didn't challenge the keeper. But at the end of the day, it was unfortunately a poor goal that we gave. It could have ended up being 0-0, and we'd have been quite happy with that on that performance. So disappointing, but overall, hey, we're going to get days like that, and we've just got to bounce back on Tuesday against Newcastle.
Great. What do you think yourself, Kevin? Would you put it up there as among the worst?
Yeah, I agree with everything Ginny said there. Everybody was expecting a win, but when you get people saying, "Oh, Brighton haven't won in 9 games" and all this business, you think shouldn't really be saying that before a game. But yeah, they obviously it was a great move actually for the goal. It was like a Bielsa move, to be fair. The way that tore us apart. Just poor defending at the back stick, and of all the players to score the goal was one of our nemesis, isn't it? Maupay is always scoring against us or doing something against us that we don't like. But I agree again with Ginny. A draw would have been a good, fair result, I think, because neither keeper was tested really, were they? They didn't really dirty themselves on that pitch, diving around. And I think a draw would have been a fair result. But we are going to get games like that this season. Obviously, we've had them in. We've had poor defeats up to now. That's our 9th defeat of the season, which is a lot of defeats. But thankfully, we've managed to get 7 of our own. So that's helped us get into the position where we are. We're in a decent position still. Let's not get away from that. And if you said at the start of the season, I know people say that, but if you'd have said it would be on 23 points going into the new year, I think most people would have been quite happy with that. But if you look at Bielsa's record overall in January, it's not that good, really, is it? His teams don't perform very well in January. I was looking at the stats the other day. 13 games we played so far in January. We've only won 3 games, which is pretty poor. So maybe it's to do with the pitches overall. I don't know the way that they are this time of year, but we don't seem to start going until February, into the season. So there's plenty of time to go yet. And we are a lot better than that Brighton game, and hopefully we can prove it on Tuesday night.
I think it's interesting what you say there about the pitch, because it wouldn't be something that you're looking at a Bielsa team and thinking it's not ideal to be playing on that pitch. So JK, I know you're not happy about the Brighton game, so let it go. Let us know what you thought.
Well, I would echo the sentiments of both Ginny and Kevin there. What they've said, agree 100%. My wife was very nervous. She knew what the score was, but at the end, when the final whistle went, it was just pure frustration. I just shouted at the TV. I think it's the first time I've done it this season. And we were hammered 6-2 at Old Trafford, but I stuck to that match. I still was very proud of the way they played that day. The West Ham game has been mentioned, and there's a few others you could probably point to. But I think the game, the underwriting thing was the Casilla thing. Automatically, I think a lot of people, there was a lot of negativity on social media, a lot of comments middle of the week. The fact that I think Bielsa probably would have been better if he'd actually come out and said that Melia wasn't playing on Saturday, as opposed to this. He can be a bit, for me, a bit cloak and dagger at times. I know that's the way he does the media, etc. But I think it would have been better, would have helped. And then, fans might have been a little bit more. Just people were already saying on Thursday, Friday, they'd heard that he wasn't going to be playing. He had COVID, so I think that set the tone almost. and that automatically created problems in terms of maybe attitude, etc. So but overall the performance very, very flat, as was mentioned, and a lot of people, I think, something maybe has been mentioned to date, and it's happened in other games, and we haven't fallen foul of it, is there's too many people playing a position. Rodrigo was a striker. He hasn't looked anything like what he was. I presume he had COVID. I think I'm right in saying that. He has not looked the same player since he came back. I don't know whether he's still struggling a little bit physically. Obviously, there was players last night playing for Aston Villa who recently had COVID. Dean Smith was, of course, saying they were fantastic. Maybe he's just that, he's affected maybe by that. And then we have, obviously we're missing Phillips. And then Cassie, you could say to a point, yes, Melia, I think, creates that little bit more a back four that look happier when he's in nets. And then you have other players that are just out of position. Like, I would have an ideal 11 that I would play ideally every week if we could, all match fit, that is, of course. And probably maybe five of those players we're playing on Saturday wouldn't be in the team. They might be in the squad, but I don't think they'd be in the team. So I think that's another factor. You've mentioned the pitch, and I think it's one of those games you looked at, and very quickly, I think you got that idea in your head: we're not going to win this today. That I don't know whether it's easy to say in hindsight, but that's how I felt very early on proceedings. See if a chance goes begging for us. We never want to score too early. We have done in some games, but I think you automatically know when it's not going to be your day very quickly with Leeds.
I think it's definitely interesting on what you're saying about the players playing out of position, because it is actually just the very thing I was going to come on to next. So I'll sort of work my way back down the line and start with you, JK, on that one. But I think there, as you said about Rodrigo, I think there's a real imbalance in our midfield, and I think it's kind of like a lot of people are giving Click a lot of stick, and yes, his performances haven't been great, but Rodrigo, like he's basically playing, like Phillips are obviously it was Strug at the weekend, but you've got somebody there basically playing right in the defence. You've then got Click in the midfield on his own essentially, and Rodrigo like in front of him, not really, in the place. And then obviously at the weekend there was a situation where Harrison and Rafinha playing in the opposite wings. Like, I think that was maybe to try and give a bit of cover for your man Solly March. But I don't think that worked. And obviously Alioski at left back a lot. Like, he's a great personality and he's popular with the fans, but it's not necessarily because of his performances on the pitch. So, like, what do you think of the sort of the midfield thing that it says there? But like, do you think that there is a bit of an isolation issue in there?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Klitz he has been as tends to happen sometimes, he's been a scapegoat. Part of the season, he was, of course, because he scored the goal against Liverpool and he played so well. He was fantastic. If he has a good game, a really good game, everybody thinks he's world class almost. Of course, that's the way we do it when we're Leeds fans. Everybody's world class when they're fantastic. But if he has a poor game, and it's not his fault, everybody's saying he looks tired. I think he could do with a break. He could do with a rest, if I'm honest, because he's been asked to do so much in this season. But there are some players. He's been lumped in with other players, and the attitude is he's a championship player, no higher. I don't agree. I think actually he's a Polish international. He's intelligent. If he had somebody in there, let's mention Adam Forshaw. If we had him back and fit for at least a week, just to see what he can do, because unfortunately he probably would be gone again after that. Like, I don't know if we'll ever see that man kick a ball for Leeds again. I don't know how the other fellas feel. I'm not entirely sure we ever will. It seems the injury just seems to be, persistent, to the point that you will have him. What age is he? 20, whatever it may be, 27, 28, where the man has to retire because you can only go on so long and not play football, But I don't know if anybody saw the under-23 clip of Leif Davis running out from the back against Stoke. I would play that man at left back for a run of games. Anytime I see him play, I think he looks quite good. He gets played out of position. Therefore, maybe people can criticise, but I think play him at left back, which is where he actually should be playing. That will cover the Alioski thing, where you could move him up, bring him on as a sub if either Harrison or Rafinha are tired. I would put Hernandez in there on occasion, but he'll not last the 90 minutes for you anyway. He just doesn't have the legs anymore. But Tyler Roberts, for me, on Saturday, really surprised me. Yes, he ran around a bit like a headless chicken, but that said, at least he showed a little bit of guile, a little bit of oomph, which seemed to be lacking so much in so many other characters on Saturday. So I would shake things up against Newcastle, but as I've already been told on social media by the experts, that's not the Bielsa way. So there probably will be few, or if any, changes on Tuesday next.
I think it's obviously an interesting point you say about Davis. If you get him in at left back, you get one of the centre backs back, which could possibly be Llorente. Put him in with Cooper and move Ealing to right back. You suddenly got Stuart Dallas free, and like is like the way our midfield's been. Stuart Dallas, the bundle of energy that Stuart Dallas has. Could he run about in the midfield there? What do you think, Kevin?
Well, he's been played there, and when he makes substitutions, sometimes Dallas fills in midfield. I mean, that guy can play in goal if he wanted to. I think he's just one of those players that can just fit in anywhere. I'll just go back to the pitch. Though. Good news about the pitch. I don't know if you've seen the pictures today on Twitter, but it's been dug up today. Apparently, they're spending a few grand on relaying it for the next home game, which I believe is Everton in a couple of weeks. So hopefully, by the time we play Everton, two decent footballing teams, we might see a decent game of football back there. So that's good news on the pitch side. But it's obviously the same for every team that comes to Elland Road. You both got to deal with the pitch. And we only had 5 months to relay a pitch for the Premier League. Didn't have enough time to do it. So we were going to save it till the summer anyway. So we just got to do what we can and play how we can on the pitch that we give them, basically. So hopefully by Everton, it will be all right. Going back to the team selection, yeah, I mean, ever since Bielsa said that Cleat can play in absolutely any world team in football, which somebody put on Twitter, yeah, ever since he said that, he's been playing like Charlie Adam. So he is a class act, is Cleat. I love the guy because he does give 100% usually. But when he's on an off day, you can tell he's having an off day. His shooting is erratic, his passing's not there. And sometimes you think, you just take him off and shove Jamie Shackleton, give him 40 minutes or so. He'll run around for you, do the job you want to do. But he seems, he just wants to pick him all the time. He's so loyal to his squad, which is, I don't think it's a problem because we're in a good position. But I think what Bielsa thought at the start of the season is, I'm going to give every single guy a chance in this team, and they can prove they can play in the Premier League. All right, some of the players might not be coming up to the standard of that, but he is giving everybody a chance. I think we'll be okay this season. Famous last words, I know. But we get to a good position at the end of the season. I think he will review it. God willing, he stays another season. And he will bring in what you call quality players in for quality positions. Like JK said, we need a decent left back, don't we? Give Davis a chance. Yeah, he looks great. I disagreed with his move to let Douglas go to Blackburn. I think he's a good squad player to have in the team. And when he comes on, he just plays like, you tell him to play a left back, and that's what he'll do. He'll play like a left back, just defend. All right, he's not fantastic at going forward, which he loves his players to do. But for 20 minutes, when you want to keep a result or get a result, he's the guy, that can shore up the defence a little bit. But like I said before, I think he'll give these players a chance for this season. See how they get on. I know he said Rodrigo looks a bit tired, but yeah, he did suffer from the COVID-19, or somebody in his family did. And he missed 2 weeks of training. You miss 2 weeks of Bielsa training, you're going to be exhausted when you come back. And I think he showed that in a few games, which is, it is a quality act, let's face it. On his day, he's going to be a great player, but it's going to take him a bit of time to get back up to speed again. And somebody mentioned the other week that Bamford was going to miss a game this weekend, and he never did because because Bielsa seems to refuse to pick his team now before a game because he's been told not to do it. I think, don't tell everybody else what your team's going to be. And I agree with JK. He should have mentioned Meslier was going to be ill, he wasn't going to be available. Then everybody would have been prepared for the team sheet on Saturday. Then when Casir got picked. Casilla didn't do anything wrong with the pitch on Saturday, but obviously his reputation is tarnished now for what happened, and people dislike him as a person, which is unfortunate. But that's the way it is. But yeah, let's see how the next 20 games transpire, and I think we'll be okay. But it's going to be a long 20 games at this rate if we play like we did on Saturday.
And what's your thoughts yourself, Ginny? Then, sort of on the way Bielsa's been choosing to play players in certain positions, and do you see sort of anything there at the minute that you would like to be different?
Yeah, I mean, we know from the 2 years in the Championship that's how he does things. Even that run of Casillas when he was making mistake after mistake, we thought the Brentford game in particular, when he made another howler, he might drop him. He didn't. He stuck by him. I think the two lads have made some really good points, but it's not been easy to come in the Premiership and our back four, particularly at central defence, it's chopped and changed. Coops unfortunately has been in and out this season. Koch, who I thought was starting to really settle in well, got the knee injury. We've seen nothing of Llorente. I'm hoping, with this break and again with the under-23s, I'd like to see him and Cooper get Ayling at right back, because we've missed those runs down that side. And for me, I agree, Leif Davis looks a really good prospect, but I think for me, I'd prefer Stewie Dallas there all day long. So we've got a more settled back five, get Calvin back in front of them, and, let's get Click going again. Again, Rodrigo, before the COVID, I mean, that Villa game, he was superb. A couple of appearances as a sub, you thought, hey, this guy's looking the part. He looks a £29 million player. And unfortunately, you know what social media is like. People start slagging him off. That guy will come good. It might take a season under Bielsa to see the real Rodrigo and how good he's going to be. Same with Rafinha. Rafinha looks a real talent, but it just might take a little bit longer for these guys to really sort of show what they're capable of, because they're quality players. For me, I don't have an issue with this small squad situation. We proved it in the Championship. I know the Premiership's a different level. I just don't look at the bench each week and think, we've got 2 or 3 players that can come off the bench and change it for us. It feels like you're looking at Pablo again to come on and do some magic. But in the main, I think it's been brilliant. The football's been fantastic. I hate to say it, but the fact so many people are enjoying watching us play. And can you imagine if we had 2 or 3 more quality players in areas playing the Bielsa way? We would be a hell of a team. But it's our first season, 16 years we've waited. And I think it's been brilliant. And I'm quietly confident, without getting too excited, I think we'll make it this year, and I think we'll stay in the Premier League. And I think a lot of people want to see Leeds in the Premier League, but we need a bit more quality. But it's you've got to build it each summer. The January window is never going to be a cracking window for us, is it? We might make the odd loan signing, but I don't think we'll do any business. But I'm proud of them. I'm absolutely delighted. It's been an absolute pleasure the first 18 games, and as I say, I think we'll be okay. But I'm just concerned that some of the players that we hear about, under 23s, I don't even Struijk. I'm not convinced yet that he's ready for this level, but I maybe will proven wrong. Bielsa and his coaching staff see these guys day in, day out. We only see a team for 90, 95 minutes each week, don't we? But no, I think it's been absolutely superb, and I'm proud of people like Ayling, Dallas, Cooper. They've worked their socks off to get to where they are, and they deserve the chance. And not many players you can say that came up have let us down yet, have they, really? Well, I don't think so. I think some have had the odd bad game, don't get me wrong, but I think overall, I think they've been superb.
Yeah.
I would definitely I would tend to agree. I think especially sort of one of the big things that's being thrown at us is the defensive record. And as you said, we haven't really had much luck there. We've went out and we've signed a Spanish international, we've went out and we've signed a German international, 2 of the best national teams in the world, and we've been pretty unlucky. They haven't necessarily been fit. But I do think Ginny, you made a lot of good points there, and you sort of certainly raised the morale sort of from where we were from the Brighton one. But you are right in what you're saying. I always look at it, whenever to stay up in the league, if you're getting 1 point per game, you should be okay. 38 games in the Premier League, they always talk about 40. At the minute, we're on 23 points from 18 games. Like, I think it's been pretty good so far. Like, what do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, to be fair. I'm not enjoying, like Ginny says, everybody else loving us as well, because that's not the Leeds way, is it?
No.
We don't like everybody else liking us. We just like our own team. You can like your own team, not forget about us. You know, we're happy the way we are. But yeah, I mean, it's been obviously it's a roller coaster. It's an old cliche, and you're down one week and you bang up the next. That Newcastle game, I must admit, I was on a bit of a high after that game because we were absolutely amazing that night. I'm just hoping we can repeat it again on Tuesday, because it'd be a nice 3 points if we get it on Tuesday. But yeah, I mean, it's best not to get too down after a defeat, and obviously best not to get too high after a win. Just take each game as they come along, basically, and try and enjoy being in the Premier League again. Because, you know, at least we're not doing what Sheffield United, Fulham, West Brom are doing at the moment, which is struggling to get a win, and obviously could struggle to stay up. The main priority this season has always been to stay in the league. And I remember going back to when Man City first got promoted under Joe Royle, I think it was, when they came through the divisions and they were a Premier League team. They got relegated in the first season because they just couldn't hack it. And obviously, the Arabs came along soon after, but that first season was a disaster for them, really, because they went straight back down on 41 points, which probably would have been enough now to stay up. But they had another season in the Championship, came straight back up again, and obviously haven't looked back ever since. So obviously we want to look at that. Obviously not getting relegated again, but to stay in the Premier League for a long time and build for the future. We've got to think ahead as well. Bielsa's not going to be here forever. We've got to really enjoy it while he is here, because he's absolutely transformed the whole club, the whole city. He's transformed everything about football for me, because I've never known a Leeds team play like this in my lifetime. They're absolutely a joy and a wonder to watch, and it's great watching Match of the Day again, you know, because we haven't been on that for a long time either. Watching it on a Saturday, well, after a victory, obviously after a defeat, it's not quite as good. But when they've won a game and everybody's just saying, "Oh, Leeds are amazing," even Gary Neville, when we were losing at Man City, says, "Yeah, usually when you're 5-1 up in the game, you're quite relaxed, but with this Leeds team, you don't know if they're going to get pulled back 2 goals in 5 minutes and make it shaky." So I think everybody, even outside of Leeds, is just enjoying watching us as a football team. A bit like Newcastle back in the day when under Kevin Keegan, you know, they just love attacking and scoring goals. So obviously, we haven't done that yet this year, but hopefully we'll get back into it next week.
Yeah, I think it's obviously, you know, it's interesting what you say about, you know, like the way we're playing and being enjoyable to watch. It's like every time I turn on a Leeds match, like 9 times out of 10 I'll watch a football match and you'll be kind of half watching it. You'll be messing about with your phone. You can't do that watching Leeds. You know, it's literally, there's something going on everywhere, and there's something happening. And like you watch there, like the supposed best teams in the country, like Liverpool and Man United, played there on Sunday. I think Leicester maybe splits them. I'm not 100% sure, but it was dire. It was horrible to watch. Like, it wasn't a good game. You know, like Leeds are going into every game and they're treating it as a game where we can win. Like, some people will look at it and say it might be naive, but it's only going to be naive if we end up getting into a relegation battle. And at the minute, we're 11 points clear of it, and we should be pretty happy with where we are. The one thing you did mention there as well is about the no goals in 2021. JK, how are we worried about that yet?
I think based on the fact that Bielsa himself has said it's a worry, the performances and the lack of goals. I think you listen to what that man says. Therefore, yes, as a Leeds fan, all of us we're going to be nervous. But to sort of go back to what has been said already, we'll have good days and bad days. Crawley, and also the Brighton defeat, and then the Spurs game. The Spurs game we were in, you know, a very, very controversial penalty. We've had a few VAR moments that haven't gone our way. We've had 1 or 2 that have gone our way, but definitely VAR moments that haven't gone our way. And you know, probably this season that there's probably going to be something there's going to probably be 2 teams down near the bottom and something VAR, like the Villa Sheffield United thing last year. Something's going to happen. You just know already. You could write it in the stars now, but hopefully it won't be Leeds that we're worrying about. And to go back to what the two chaps have already said, I fully agree. I don't think we'll be in that position. Again, famous last words, but I don't think we will. I think we'll get sufficient wins between now and the end of the season to. And do you know what? Don't worry about getting a few draws. We seem to be very, very scared. Pick up a few points along the way. Get a couple of wins, but a few draws just to take that edge off. Because a point here, a point there, whether it be at home or away, doesn't matter. Just get a few. Because we've got towards the end of the season, we've got Liverpool at home, we've got Manchester United at home. If you've already mentioned they're sort of top teams that will be vying possibly for the league still at that stage. They'll be going gung ho against us then if that's to win the title. We'd like to be safe at that stage and maybe then blood a few people that maybe haven't got much of a chance. And it doesn't matter if we win, lose or draw. No, it doesn't. If you've got the points in the bag already, But personally, no, I'm not, because I know there have been a lot of good performances, and there's more to come. Definitely.
Ultimately, the way I'm sort of looking at it is obviously like the Tottenham game. Away to Tottenham. Tottenham are established Premier League. They've been in the Champions League. They've been in the Champions League final, not that long ago. So they're a good side, and we went there and we had a go. We got beat 3-0. Fair enough. Crawley, obviously, on the face of it, was a bad result. But Bielsa's selection, essentially showed us what he thought of the FA Cup. And then obviously Brighton was a disappointment. I'll certainly get Brighton. But back on that FA Cup one, Ginny, what did you think of the selection and stuff in the FA Cup? For me, I kind of felt that I kind of think Leeds are like obviously somewhere around the top 10 in the country, and a wee bit of luck and the draw. And there could have been an quarter-final, semi-final, in the FA Cup. Obviously, the priority is the league. But could we have had a wee run there?
I would have loved a cup run. I love the FA Cup. I'm still the old school. It still excites me, the third round. Unfortunately, I was down at Sutton. I was at Newport, and I fancied us on that Sunday. I thought the first half it was an half decent team he put out. I just didn't get the whole second half, the substitutions. I understand Cooper coming off after 45. That made sense. But then you've got the young lad, Sam Greenwood, who looks an exciting prospect for the under-23s. He's one of the few that I think is being spoken about really highly. But he put Jackie Harrison up front and Sam Greenwood in sort of like a midfield role. And I just didn't understand the tactics behind it whatsoever. And I think Crawley just grew in confidence and... Well, it could have been 4-0, couldn't it? I mean, Casillo came dashing out of his line, and it frustrates the hell out of me because, 87 the last time we got to a semi-final under the great Billy? It's too long for a club like Leeds. And yeah, I was gutted, I'll be honest with you. I was more gutted on that than I have been for any of the defeats in the Premier League, because great opportunity to try and get a cup run. Just be our luck, I thought. Just be our luck. We get a really good cup run and we can't go and watch the games. But yeah, it was a huge disappointment. And as I say, we all felt Brighton we might bounce back. We didn't, but we just got to get on with it. But I love the cup and the League Cup. I think it's a good opportunity now we're in the Premier League. But to get knocked out in the first round and the third round of the FA Cup, it's disappointing. And as I say, some of the young ones these days probably aren't as bothered, but for me personally, I love it. I love the FA Cup. What
was your thoughts on that, Kevin? Do you think there was a cup run there for the taking, or?
Yeah, very unfortunate, really. 7 games, really. You have to get through, don't you, to get to Wembley. It was a lost opportunity, really. It should have been an easy victory. First half, we weren't troubled at all. They had that corner and Casillo made a great save, and that's about it. There was nothing else that they did to disturb us. All we had to do was keep the same team. Yeah, I agree Cooper should have come off because it was 45 minutes. And in more than that, he might have got injured again, knowing him. 45 minutes was enough for him, but he shouldn't have tampered about with anybody else. Poveda was causing a few problems down the wing. I'd have kept the same team for at least 20 minutes in the second half, see how they did. Obviously, we could have had a penalty in the first half without VAR. It's the only time I've missed it this season, really. Rodrigo's pulled back, definitely. It was a penalty. 1-0, that would have been the end of the game for me. But I don't think he is taking the cup games that seriously. He's saying the right things before the games. But against QPR, it was a weak team. We lost 2-1. Against Arsenal, we gave them a real fright first half. We should have been about 3 up by then. But we lost 1-0 in the end. It was a decent performance, though. We got loads of plaudits for that. Fair enough. There was bigger fish to fry with the Premier League. But this season, we're in the Premier League now. We're not going to win the league. We're not going to qualify for Europe. Why don't we go on a nice little cup run? We messed it up against Hull in the penalty shootout. And then we messed it up again on the Sunday by chucking on 3 subs at the start of the second half, which even in a tight game, or if you're winning, it's a dicey thing to do, really, because you disrupt the whole mechanism of the team. And we fell apart after that first goal. And it was embarrassing, to be fair, really, really embarrassing. And I hate it when Leeds are involved in those sort of results, because the whole country's laughing at us, and you think, all right, then we'll bounce back against Brighton and everything will be all right. Those 3 points will make up for it. But unfortunately, you're just feeling as bad on Saturday night as you did on the previous Sunday night. So, yeah, a bit of a topsy-turvy start to the year. I think at Tottenham, I thought up to the penalty, we were the better team, I thought, that day. But Meslier was messing about with a couple of his kicks out of defence, which he's told to do, obviously, but he messed it up a bit too much. Alioski was out of his depth a bit on the left-hand side that day. He didn't really know how to defend properly, which was a bit worrying. But see, up to that point, we looked okay. I mean, we could have scored a couple of goals ourselves, but after that, it was all Spurs, obviously. But yeah, you get these games. It's unfortunate the first 3 games of the year have started off this way, but we've had such a great ride up to now. I think we've got a lot more to enjoy now when we've definitely got 20 games to go now. 10 at home, 10 away. And I'm sure we'll get enough points to be okay. You just got to try and enjoy the ride now for the last 20 games and see where it takes us.
I think sort of with the monkey on the back, so to speak, with the no goals in 2021, apart from maybe West Brom, you probably couldn't have picked a better team to be playing next than Newcastle. I think there's definitely a goal. There's a goal for us in that one. So just sort of January, and so my own opinion is we won't do any business, and I think it's wise for us not to do any business, because I don't think if we signed anybody, Bielsa would particularly integrate them into the team. I don't think it's he likes to get as much of pre-season as possible and get the players in his way of doing things that way, and like sort of January hasn't really worked out for us with Bielsa. Do you think there'll be any business done, JK?
No, I don't think there'll be any major business. There might be maybe, as you've said, there a loan sign or 2 potentially, but there's more likely people going out the door on loan or otherwise than there is in. I think Orta and his crew apparently go to Bielsa, I think at least once a week, with a list of names and say, we're monitored, like they were doing with Robin Koch and others. This is a player we think would fit into your style of football. What do you think? And there's a lot of consultation between the 2 parties, but personally, I'll be very surprised if we feel they need. It's not that, yes, every fan will say they would love to see 3, 4, 5 signings. January just doesn't work, because you're tending to buy players who are maybe not doing it so much at their club. Like West Brom, you've mentioned yourself, Gerry. They, out of necessity, they're going to have to bring in new faces to try and get out of the rut that they're in. But we don't need to do that. We have, whatever number of players we have, the small squad that Ginny's referred to, really, it's still, it's still a good enough squad what we have. I think, in my opinion, currently, and as both fellas already have said, add a few new faces in the summer, see what's available then. Like, I don't think the Euros are going to happen anyway. I think there's going to be, there'll be quite a lot of potential pre-season opportunity there. Bring new faces in quickly. Leeds don't tend to do business early. That frustrates me. We end up, although maybe we've improved a bit over the years, we tend to be buying people at the very, very last minute. Not so much with Bielsa, but previous managers we have brought people in very late in the day and then they're thrown into the deep end. They haven't got used to the ways of the team, the pitch, the crowd, etc. Assuming that all comes back. So no, I personally, I'd wait until the summer. I don't think we need to freshen things up too much. If it's been said, if a Rafinha type situation came about and they thought this is too good to miss, take it. But otherwise, no, I would stick with what we've got.
Okay, and just want to re-say about like a situation that might be too good to miss. I was reading one today about Demore Gray, who I know Leeds have been interested in from Leicester, and there's talk now that I think his contract's up at the end of the summer, so he might be available for 1.8 million this window. What would you think of something like that, Jenny? Would you go for a deal like that, or do you think it's just better off to wait until the summer?
I think we just wait till the summer. I can see a few maybe under 23s being loaned out. But I guess it all comes down to the player Bielsa wants. We know he likes the wingers. It's whether or not he feels we need somebody now. I don't think he'll bring anybody in. They'll already be plotting and looking at the players they want to try and bring in the summer, because they do plan quite ahead of the time, don't they, when they're looking at players. Was it Kevin said about, was it 15 months, 18 months that they looked at Koch before they actually went out to buy him? So, and like JK said, I think the squad's good enough at the moment to maintain its status in the Premier League. Yeah, of course we want fresh players and we need some new players. We know that, but January is just not a good month at all. And Julian Gray, I don't know. I've not seen enough of him, to be honest, to sort of say whether or not is it worth spending £2 million and taking a chance. We've got enough wingers if we look at it, haven't we, on paper? I'm not saying they're all performing to the level we'd expect, but we have got quite a few wingers at the moment. So no, I don't see too much activity. I think if we'd have been in a different situation, like a West Brom, I think that panic comes in, doesn't it? And I think you kind of feel forced to try and bring 2 or 3 players in to freshen it up. But we've seen in the past that doesn't always work or guarantee you staying up in the Premier League or any league for that matter. So I'm happy with the squad. I think we all know where we need strengthening. It needs adding in the summer. I'm sure we will. And as we say, let's enjoy the next 20 games.
I tend to agree, yeah. What about yourself, Kevin? Do you see any business? I know the sort of ones that there's been a bit of talk about this. There's a young kid at Derby, I think, is it Sibley or something? And then the Fiorentina midfielder, Polgar. So do you see anything being done for any of them, or just wait?
Yeah, for the under-23s maybe, because obviously Derby, what a shame they're in financial problems at the moment. I have to get released. My heart bleeds for them. I've heard Ryan Kent mentioned again this January window. Obviously, he's a long target for Bielsa by the sounds of it. I think he's dying to get hold of him because he plays on the wing, but he can play sort of in the middle as well. So watch out for him, I suppose. It could be a late deal, you don't know. There's one player I'd love for us, I mean, just for the entertainment value, there's one player I would love for us to join the club. He's not playing for his club at the moment, which is the reason it could be a possibility. He speaks Bielsa's language, and he's this hard nut that could, get the team going again, basically. It's Diego Costa at Atletico Madrid. I love to see him in a Leeds shirt, I tell you. Coming on with 20 minutes to go, looking angry and wanting to hurt somebody. I thought, wow, this is the player that could ruffle a few feathers. And Bielsa's chatting to him before he goes on, in his mother tongue. I love just for the entertainment value for the last 20 games. I love to see him in a Leeds shirt, just ruffling up feathers, on the opposition. Whether that'll happen, obviously, it's a long. I think it's a long way from happening, anything like that. It's a bit of a luxury signing, if you like, I suppose. But I think Bamford does need a bit of a test. He needs somebody pushing at him from the subs bench. And he's got nobody at all at the moment. I mean, I like Bamford. I think he's doing a great job for us, but there's nobody pushing him at all on the bench to take his place. And I think he's quite comfortable at the moment. He's a bit too comfortable for me. And I think he needs somebody there just to say, hey, you're not doing what you should be doing. I'm waiting to get on, and I'll show you how it's done. We need somebody, chomping at the bit really to get into his position. So, having said all that, I don't think anybody will come in because it's not Bielsa's start to get anybody in January. Last time we did that, we got, is it Augustine we got in January, and he hardly played a game, did he, for us, because he wasn't up to match fitness, didn't really get into the Bielsa way of playing, and he was sort of sidelined after a while, and obviously that's caused a few eruptions. So that's a good example of why somebody's probably not going to come in this January, that example alone, but I'm still dreaming about Costa maybe being a possibility.
Do you think Rodrigo's the man, Kev? Just based that he's a Spanish international?
You would think so, wouldn't you? But he's tried, he played up front against Crawley and hardly got a kick, did he? He didn't really prove himself. That would have been a game for him to say, I've got a couple of goals here, I can. Yeah, I mean, in the long run, when he's back to, I don't think he's fully fit at the moment. When he gets back to match fitness, he could be a real threat. Yeah, I agree, and maybe he could look at that. But I'm sure, we've trusted Bielsa for so long now. I don't think he's going to get much wrong between now and the end of the season. So let's just enjoy the Bielsa ride, I think, and whatever decisions he makes. And, we love the guy, don't we?
Yeah.
So I think, obviously then, most of the business will be done for the summer. So just before we wrap up then, we'll take left back out of it, because I think it's a given that we'll sign a left back in the summer. But I'll give you just the opportunity, just one position that you think should be improved in the summer. So I'll go with you first, JK.
Defensive central mid. I think we need somebody in there that, dare I say, David Barry. I think that's what we need. If we could find one of those somewhere, he must be there. So he must be out there somewhere. If we could find somebody like that just to come back, it would be fantastic. Like he signed for us obviously twice, and just to have, even when I hear his name, it makes me smile. Just the memories of what a fantastic player he was. So who that is, I don't know. Is it a Premiership player? Is it a Championship player who could make the step up? Potentially, or somebody from Scotland, whatever. But or again, or further afield. But who that would be, I don't ask me who that would be name wise. But that would be my dream signing. If we could have somebody that just could do a bit of the spade work and free up Matthias Klitsch, which we've already mentioned, and maybe help others as well, just to do. Who knows? Maybe Forshaw's going to be that man. I don't know. But I've already said I don't think that man's going to kick a ball for us again. Fingers crossed. It would be great because, again, he was a bit of a misunderstood character when he played for us. There were people. He was a real figure of abuse at one stage, and then if he had a good game the following week, he was brilliant. And as we tend to do, as we've already said, Leeds fans chop and change so quickly about players. We blow hot and cold, don't we? As to how good they are, or how good they are or not. But maybe Forshaw, maybe he's the man. Maybe, excuse me, maybe we can get him fully fit and back in the summer. Then maybe he's the man to do that job. But that would be the position.
Are you his agent, JK?
I was just going to say.
I'll tell you what. If he gets to see this, he might want me to be his agent.
10% JK now, I think.
Absolutely. Like, don't get me wrong. I think he's a good player. I wouldn't. I've mentioned him a couple of times. Yes, I think he's a good player and he could probably do a job. But I would say we need to go up another level. To sort of what a couple of you have said already. We know the positions we probably need to enhance, and we need to bring in better than what we've already got, which in some positions wouldn't be that difficult, in my opinion.
I think we can sort of see that. JK struggling to get past the dirty Leeds era with Batty and Forshaw.
We love that.
What about yourself, Jenny? Where would you strengthen?
I'd certainly look at we need a younger Pablo. Somebody in that number 8 or number 10 role, whatever you want to call it these days. But I definitely think we need somebody who's a bit more of a playmaker. I agree with JK. We haven't got a replacement for Phillips at the moment. As I said earlier, at the moment, I'm not convinced Struitt can play that role. And we haven't got anybody. And Calvin does get injuries, he does get suspensions, but definitely somebody who can make things happen further up the field. I'm a massive Click fan, but you've got to support these guys, sometimes they need a rest, sometimes they're just not having a good game, and you take them off. And we were crying out for another midfielder in the Championship, really. And as much as I think JK would love to see Forshaw, as I would, I just can't see it. I mean, it's 18 months or something that he's been out. I just can't see a way back for him. I hope I'm wrong, but I just can't see it, JK. But for me, further up the field, and probably following on from what Kevin was saying, as much as I think Rodrigo's obviously a striker he plays for Spain, still like to see another striker in the summer, because you're right, Bamford needs challenging. Left back, you've said. I'd still like to see another keeper come in to challenge Meslier in the summer. I think we've got to somehow move Casilla on, and it's not anything personal. I just think for the sake of the club, if fans start to get back, I just don't think it's a good fit at the moment with Casilla. The guy doesn't seem happy. I was listening to a podcast the other week, and I'd not realised, but you didn't really see him involved, did you, with the celebrations when we got promoted in the Championship? So it might be best for him to maybe move him on or come to some arrangement.
That was something to do with the fact that we were playing Charlton that night, I think. Not the team to be celebrating against, I think. I don't think he wanted to partake in the celebrations because of what happened in the league game at Charlton. That's my reasoning behind that one, I think. Because he celebrated at Derby a week after. He celebrated the Derby game.
Yeah, true.
So maybe a bit political, that one, maybe, I think.
Yeah, and I just think we need to like I said earlier, just to strengthen the bigger element of the squad, because I just look at that bench, as I said earlier, and don't think we've got enough players that you could say, oh, he could change it, or bring him on, he could change it. But look, it's exciting, and we're not going to be going for loan players. We're not going to be going for somebody under £1 million. We're seriously going to be looking at big name players again in the summer, and hopefully a bit of investment. There's been all this talk of the 49ers putting some more investment. Radrazani's made no secret he's looking for that. So commercially, off the field, things seem to be going really well. We're on Sky again regularly, aren't we? So we're making plenty of money in that. And something Kate said earlier about the younger players, I just wonder from a financial point of view, because we've had no fans in this year, I think it'll be a case of finish as high as we can, because I think there's quite a lot of money involved depending on how high you finish in the Premier League. Plus with all these abroad rights and money that you get. So I think Radrazani will be saying finish as high as you can, Bielsa, because it's worth an extra 3-4 million for every place that we finish. So I've said to me, young, and I'm still going for 15th this year in the Premier League. That's my prediction.
And final word then to you, Kevin. Where are you signing a player for?
Well, I've got to mention Forshaw because everybody else is talking about the agent. Forshaw, he was a good player for us. He stepped in nicely. He did a great job. I mean, I remember that Stoke game. I think that was his last game, wasn't it? He helped create the Dallas goal. The first goal. He was brilliant that day, and he got injured. And a week or so after, Bielsa or somebody said, "Oh, yeah, he's not fit for this game, but he'll be okay in a couple of weeks." And we haven't seen him since. So what on earth is going on with that injury? What sort of injury is it? So that's the end of the Forshaw talk anyway. But, I do like him, but like Ginny says, it's unlikely that we'll see him again. I don't think really. We tried to say, was it that guy from PSG? What was his name? Constance or something? He failed his. He failed his medical.
Cruson, he went to has he gone to Marseille on loan?
Yeah, we were after him.
That Michael.
Rodrigo de Paul was mentioned as well. So you can see they're looking for a bit of creativity in that midfield, aren't they? They are looking for that, but they haven't found the right player yet. So whether they'll wait until the summer if somebody comes in. But Rodrigo de Paul was mentioned. Liverpool linked with him now, would you believe? Is he a Udinese player?
Has de Paul not, though? Has it not been declared this week? He's signed. I think he's signed or going to sign for somebody else in Italy. I think it's actually come out this week.
Well, yeah, and Radrazani retweeted one of his tweets just for a bit of fun, I think, as well. Everybody got excited about that. But yeah, you can tell by the players that I just mentioned, they are looking for a young Pablo, like Ginny says, somebody who can spray the ball about, be energetic, do magical things to set people up, give Cleek a bit more freedom. So, well, I don't think that will happen in January because there's few and far between, that sort of player available anyway. But I think that shows you that Orta and his team are looking at the flair player that could, galvanise the middle of the park and, Ayling play in his right position, get the centre backs in place, whoever plays at left back, as long as we've got a solid midfield with Phillips sort of running the show a little bit with this playmaker, I think we'll be okay. But it's getting that player in. I don't think it'll happen in January. But I think that's the sort of player that obviously Orta and his team will be looking at. They're probably looking at a player now that they've got earmarked for that position. But I don't think anything will happen now until the next pre-season. And I think a few changes will be made next season. Once he's given all these guys that got to where we are, he's given them a chance to prove themselves.
Okay, well, I think probably sort of in the summer, like we would have probably talked about, a young Pablo, a replacement for Pablo, and at the time I was kind of like, how much is that going to cost? But if there's one way to pay for it, it's stay in that Premier League, keep in the Premier League, keep getting the money in, improve player by player, and just gradually, improve. Hopefully, Bielsa stays for as long as the project, and the guys behind the scenes stay too. Because they've all played their part in getting us back to the Premier League after so long. So all that's left to do then is for me to say thanks to the lads there for joining us. Hopefully they'll be back. Hopefully I haven't scared them off, and hopefully we'll get them on again in a week or two, a couple of weeks, and we will be back. The channel will be back on Monday. We're going to do a wee chat about the Newcastle game. I've got a couple more guests lined up, so I'll put something on social media over the weekend about that. But definitely, as I say, thanks to Jenny, Kevin, and JK. So it's been brilliant having you, and as I say, hopefully he's will be back. And thanks to everybody for watching. Hopefully, as much feedback as we can.
I think we've raised the bar now, Gerry, for everybody else. Monday's channel better be good, It better be good.
Yeah. Special guest Adam Forshaw on Monday night. Just to mention them one more time.
Adam Forshaw definitely have his number, so you can sort that out.
Brilliant.
We could get him on Tuesday because it's not like he's going to be playing football or anything.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
So yeah, as I say, thanks very much to the lads, and we'll be back again on Monday evening. Okay, so thank you.
Cheers. All the best.
Thanks, Kev.